Line Media presents the Business First Podcast.
Hi, all, and welcome to a new episode of Business First with Sonia Alleyne. I am your host, and today in studio, we have Mr. Bobby Goodman, who is the founder and CEO of MuleWork. Welcome, Bobby.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm good. What about yourself?
Good. Yes, good to have you here. So MuleWork is a business consulting firm that helps businesses, as you say, with the hard work that most people don't want to do, is what you guys are able to do. What made you come up with this concept?
Basically, when I first started out back in 2003, the gentleman that helped me start my business overcharged me tremendously and didn't give me any information, nothing to go by. Once you got your LLC, that's it, right? He charged me $2,400 for something that was $100, primarily. And he didn't give me any directions after that. He just said, hey, listen, this is your LLC, you're good to go. But what comes after that? He didn't give me any instructions about what to do as a business owner. And I think that a lot of people starting out sorely needs that information when they're trying to start a business.
So how long was it after you had this experience and wondered how many other people might be going through some of the same things that you're going through and would need a service like this?
It was only probably a month later when I started trying to figure out what I needed to do next on my own and, doing my research. Once I did the research, I'm thinking, oh my God, what comes after the LLC? And then I had to get a tax identification number, which he didn't give me to tell me anything about. I didn't get a chance to research the name, nothing about funding, nothing about social media. There's so many things that go along with it. It's not just get your LLC and you're done. It's like a plethora of things that happen after the fact that I just didn't get enough information about.
So did that make you redirect the type of business that you were doing? Like, what business was he helping you set up? And then at what point did you say, I think I'm going to do something a little different?
Basically what I was setting up at the time, and that's a great question, I wanted to do taxes. I want to help people with their taxes. And once I picked up my first client, his first question was, hey, listen, do you know anybody that do taxes? Because I need to get my taxes done for my business. I'm like, hey, we do taxes. I don't process my own, personal taxes and my business taxes. So that's where the learning part came in for me and for my team. Learning how to do taxes, business taxes, learning how to, do the research on everything coming out, the new laws and things like that. He was my first business tax client. He's my client to this day. And that was in 2003. And again, talking with him and all of the things that he needed to get done and put in place was like this mountain of stuff. And he was like, oh, I appreciate, you walking me through this. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. And that's where the idea was born. When you're talking to somebody, they give you all this information that they did not know. It makes it so much easier for you to try to come up with something to help people. And in business, it's all about solving problems.
So since 2003, you've added a number of services to
Absolutely,
what you offer. Yeah. Can you go through some of the major pieces of your business?
The major thing there, and that's again, thank you for asking that question. Along with the business consulting and coaching, we also do small business and individual taxes. That was a major part because again, everybody that start a business need their taxes done. They need tax advisory. We offer that as well because when you start a business, you have a lot of questions. And again, taxes is a huge part of it. And what you don't want to do is get in front of the IRS, when you don't have something correct because you are not given information. And that's something that we want to try to provide as information. And as when that part started to grow for us, then we started dealing with people that was making quite a bit of money but didn't have things like life insurance in place. They didn't have wills of trust in place. And that's concerning to me because if you're making a lot of money and you have kids and you hear this all the time, people say, oh, I'll do anything for my children. But you won't put a life insurance in place to make sure they're taken care of when you leave. Not understanding if you die and nothing's in place, that it's going to go to probate and it's going to take years for that person to see that money. So it's just a matter of trying to help the community out as much as possible, give them information where we can, and just try to, be genuine and trying to help people. It's not about the money, it's about helping people, from my standpoint.
And because you work on taxes, and we can edit this out if you're not prepared to talk about it, but the timing is interesting because the Senate just passed the big, quote unquote, beautiful bill.
Yeah.
And everyone's kind of nervous as folks are unpacking it and figuring out, who the winners and the losers are. But most business consultants have said, whether or not you like the Trump administration, this administration supports businesses. And so I wanted to ask is if you've had a chance to review any of the components of the bill in terms of how it affects small business, and if so, what your thoughts are.
I've been on webinars every single day this week, trying to learn more about it and see how it's going to affect, particularly our community. Some of the things that he has for our community is pretty good, but we don't take advantage of them, like bonus depreciation that he put in place when he was the first time. He's probably going to renew that. And bonus depreciation for small business owners allows you to take advantage of purchases of equipment, of property, of houses, rental properties, and things of that nature. And it gives you quite a bit of tax break back on the first, for the first year. If you bought a car that was $100,000, and last year you got 6% depreciation on that, realized up front. So that's $60,000 that you realize on the depreciation that would take you over 5 years normally to get. So just things like that he put in place is really good. Some other things right now, I think the whole process, the whole bill is going to probably put us in a small recession, to be honest with you. And when that happens, what they're going to do is they're going to try to do what they did before and offer stimulus checks to people, right? And try to stimulate the economy, get small business owners back on their feet. And when they do that, most small business people are not going to have the systems in place to comply. And I'm sure after the last fiasco they had with this money going out and not being able to control it, they're going to put more systems in place to make sure now that you're a legitimate business versus somebody just sending stuff in like they did before and was able to get that stimulus money. So a lot of us are not prepared for that. And that's going to be a major problem for us, with the profit and loss statements, the balance sheets and things like that. The 941 forms we're not sending in every quarter. So they're going to request that stuff this time, and we don't have stuff in place. We're not going to be ready for it.
That's I'm glad you brought that up, and I would love to actually. I know the bill just passed, and so as you get a chance to review more of it, I would honestly love to have you back so that we could actually do a deep dive into all the benefits, all the trap doors, anything that people should be aware of in terms of what they should know going forward. It's interesting that you say that this may put us into a recession, which a lot of economists have mentioned. But the key point that you have brought up is just like during the pandemic, there were so many people that weren't able to take advantage of the opportunities or the benefits from the government because we didn't have things in place. There were also a lot of people who ripped off the government in a number of ways. And so, I'm glad that you brought up that the rules are going to be a lot more stringent going forward to make sure that people are, in fact, who they say they are.
Yeah, they're going to make sure that you're in compliance this time.
Yeah, absolutely. But you offer a lot more than tax guidance and things to protect your business. You have business analysis, operational processes, strategy, and creativity. Can you take us through those elements of your business?
Sure, absolutely. One of the main things that most small business owners face when they're first starting out is cash flow. They don't know what they don't know because they don't have the money coming in, right? So when money's coming in, what's the next step? How do you create balance sheets? How do you create all the things in place? And another problem is that there's an ever-changing market. The market changes almost every single day in business, and you got to be prepared for that. Then you got to figure out how you're going to make money. Once you go through the family members when you first get started and your close friends, now the challenge is actually getting real clients or customers to come to your business. And that's another huge problem. I mean, what type of SOPs do you have in place to support that? And then just because you're just starting out, there's going to be a lot of bad business that I call it, temptation type compromises that you're going to make that you wouldn't normally do to try to maintain and get customers. So you want to avoid those people at all costs because some things are just not good business, and you just have to realize that and move on. The main thing again is it should be most strategies I try to center around customer strategies. What are you going to do for the customer? Find out what the customer need. I mean, you might have the greatest idea in the world, but if nobody needs it, I mean, what's the point of having it? And most of those things you need to be focused on talking to your friends, doing analysis, putting feelers out there, doing research, Is my product solving a problem? Because if it's not solving a problem, I mean, what is it for? What is it doing? I mean, there's so many chicken wing places out there now. I mean, that's not a problem anymore. That's like it's like you know, the market is so saturated with stuff like that. Nobody needs that anymore. I mean, tell me how to start a chicken farm so I can actually sell to the people that. That's what I need to know. So a lot of people are not thinking that way. They're thinking, on the tail end of it, not on the front side of it. So that's what I mean by some of the analysis that we offer and do for some of the clients. We give you. I think I like to call myself a realist, and I talk most of the time about reality. I can tell you when something's wrong, this is not going to work. You might not want to hear it. You might want to fight it, but this is the truth. It's wrong for this reason.
Can you remember an example of where you had to bring that to someone's attention, telling them, you know what, this isn't working. Here's why it's not working. This is what you should probably consider. And it became a new realization for them.
Yeah, I have a client that's a hairdresser, and some of the things that they do, particularly when it comes to, from a tax standpoint, is just not realistic. Offer or gave her systems to put in place to make things easier for her to track her expenses, her purchases, her sales and revenue. And when you're talking to somebody like that, and they think they know, they listen to friends that say they know. In reality, they don't know. So when it comes back to me, and you see, haven't sent me this, or you see, haven't put these processes in place, a lot of things are digital now, but the IRS is, they still take paper. Tax code 6001
Right.
specifically talks about purchases, expenses. What are you going to do? Bookkeeping, record keeping, so to speak. So if you don't have that stuff in place, regardless of what I'm trying to tell you, you're going to, if you go to in front of IRS, you are going to be slapped with penalties because you don't have stuff in place. And that's
Mhm.
the most difficult and most challenging part of my job is telling people you need this stuff and getting them to accept the fact that I need this for my business to be legitimate. When you look at your bank statement, it doesn't say what you purchased. It doesn't give you like a detail. It just say you purchased this on this day from here, $500. Well,
Right.
what was it? And IRS auditor going to look at you like, hey, I don't know what that is. So that's going to be denied. So just things like that is just it's very difficult sometimes when you're dealing with people about their business.
Are there any things that you see that are consistent in terms of what business owners tend to do wrong, or something that you see that's consistent across the board that they could do better?
Absolutely. The main thing again, like I just talked about, was putting sensors in place to make their business legitimate. Because everybody think that I can take a shortcut here or a shortcut there and everything will be fine. It doesn't work that way.
Mm.
You need to pay estimated taxes. You need to pay quarterly taxes. You need to do payroll. You need to get S corp set up for your business so it can be legitimate deductions. And then when you do purchase something, make it have to keep the receipts for it. You can't go to the grocery store and say, hey, you bought $500 or $200 worth of groceries and say this is my receipt for food. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
If you have a copy of it, the IRS sees that. Then what is this for? What is that for? Now, if you're going to have a Christmas party, it should be labeled as a Christmas party as a category on your things, and everything in there should be affiliated with the Christmas party, right? And that's allowable to have a company
Right.
business party. What's not allowable is for you to cereal is not on a food list for Christmas party. So
Right.
things like that is just not legitimate. And I see that all the time. And I mean, I have professional athletes, I have actresses, so many people with the same thing. And I keep trying to reiterate the point that it has to be a legitimate transaction.
We'll be right back after this message.
What do you think it is? That is it because most of us, and I'm kind of raising my hand here, most of us are so engaged in either the idea or the work that some of the back office stuff that we just say either we'll get to later, or what is it that you think that really keeps us from, because we're all excited about the work. Most people are excited about the
Mhm,
work. Most people
mhm.
have a good idea that they are putting forth, and there are a lot of folks who you know deliver on these good ideas. But I it's a consistent theme even with the different consultants that we've had here, is that this back office stuff, getting organized, paying the taxes, all the things that make you a legitimate business, is a consistent challenge for our community.
Hence the name MuleWork. We do the hard work for you. The things that, and most time you have business
Okay.
owners that are very good at what they do. You might be great as a
Right.
chef, but you might not have the accounting part or the business acumen or the consulting part down where you can do it yourself. That's why we're here. Take advantage of those opportunities. I had a client one time. This guy played professional football and opened up a wing shop, but the wing shop was off the road and behind another building. Nobody can see you back there. So after they got robbed a couple of times, he was like, well, maybe you had a great idea. I know I had a great idea. You just didn't listen to me when I was trying to tell you in the beginning processes, because he wanted to get open so quickly, so fast, that is what he went for. Instead of taking his time, doing his due diligence, and making things work for him. People just, I don't want to say it's procrastination, but a lot of it is procrastination. You know, so I mean,
Right.
people, they have the best intentions, but again, some of the most sought after people in their industry just don't like doing the book part of it, or the business part, the setup, even the human resource part of it, and that's part of it as well. Because if you don't have the documentation, if somebody come in and audit your paperwork for your employees, guess what? You have a problem.
You also have creativity as one of your offerings. What falls under that?
Oh, a lot of things fall upon that. For us, it could be something similar, something as simple as partnerships, collaborations. A lot of times, people don't think about the other sources that you can use to be creative and innovative in your business. There's so many people out there
Right.
that want to participate, want to help. If you can form a partnership with a business, corporate sponsorship, right? Or you can talk to universities to see if they have anybody that's there that's working on credits for their classes. Things like that is very important when you're talking about being creative and innovative in your business. You can even ask your friends. I mean, Sam Walton, that's how he built Walmart pretty much. Asking customers what do they want, what do
Right.
they need, and how can I make this better for you? We have to do the same thing as small business owners, because your customer is your mouthpiece and your best source of advertising
Mhm.
and best learning experience. They're gonna root for you and praise your name when you do good. When you do bad, they're gonna break you down. But if you listen to
Mhm.
them, they know they can put the word out there and make you look fantastic.
That is so true. Tell us a little bit about your background. What were you doing before 2003?
Retail. God, I've been in retail pretty much all my life. I was managing big box stores, Kmart, Sports Authorities. I'm dating myself when I say Kmart. I was a district manager for a company called City Gear. At basically territory, I had 3 states: Georgia, Alabama, and some stores in Mississippi. So basically big box retail, making millions of dollars for other people, and seeing how the process worked, and wondering why we couldn't do that, right? And I remember sitting in a meeting with the owners of 2 companies. They wanted to start a tax business, and of course, they brought me in to collaborate with them. And they didn't like each other very much. But when it came to money, they loved each other, because when they saw a great idea, they both jumped on board, invested the
Right.
money, and made it
Wow.
work. And that's something that I have to say, that when we want to do something, if we don't like somebody, we just say, "Hey, forget it. I'm not going to deal with this person."
Right.
When
Yeah.
I, and I'm not trying to label races or whatever, but a lot of times when you deal with people like
No,
that,
I get what you're saying.
yeah, they understand that it's about the money. We don't have to like each other to do business together.
Yeah.
We have to respect each other and respect each other's opinion,
Okay.
and go from there. And that's what and when we were talking about this stuff, you could see the smile on their faces. We got something we can make some money off of. How can we get this done? Can you help us set it up and get it done?
And so, what was the point at which you said, you know what, I've been doing this for so many other people. I think I'm going to try my hand at it.
That was the point. That was the day. That,
What
that
was
was the
that point?
turning
What
point.
was that moment?
That
Yeah.
moment when I was sitting there and look at all the money they were making from their business that they had. Both had clothing stores, different lines. One in
Mm,
urban wear, one women's fashion, and 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 again, I'm out there opening up these stores for these people. Spending thousands of dollars to open up a location, hiring people, doing the project management for these locations, and knowing that they just really had a real disdain for each other. But sitting in that room, they were like best friends. Because again, I'm like, wait a minute.
wow.
But then the money that they
Because they
pour
love
into
the
this,
idea.
yeah, they love the idea. So I mean, they take advantage of opportunity. Disruption in a day form
Mm,
cause make millionaires, like COVID. And
wow.
when something came to them that they were not used to, was not accustomed to, or saw that it could possibly make money, hey, the eyes lit up. This is more money in our pocket. And they don't look at it as, well, it's only, $500,000. That's $500,000 more than you had before, right?
Right.
I hear people all the time say, truck drivers, well, it's not worth my time to pull a load back from here if I'm only going to make this amount of money. But you're going to come back with nothing versus coming back with anything. I just don't understand that logic to me. You can't become a millionaire if you turn down money, regardless of the amount.
Yeah. All of the sales work that you talked about, though, as you mentioned, that was excellent training for you. What were
Absolutely.
some of the what were some of the big lessons that you took away from your years doing sales?
Profit and loss statements, how to read them, how to make them work for you, knowing that profit and loss statements, you have two profit and loss statements, one for your staff, and one for the people that are funding your business. The people that's funding your business, they don't want to see a profit and loss statement that's a negative, right? So they want you got to make that look as positive as possible. When you show it to your staff, it's going to be all the stuff that we can do better on. That's why it's negative. So the staff is going to see this negative number on stuff, when in actuality, when the investors see it, it's gonna be positive. And they pretty much take those numbers, some things out, like they might tell you that, hey, we're going to take out uh, food costs to a certain degree. You're going to cut it in half, right? Because they when they sell it to the investors, they're going to say a lot of stuff was pilferage, right? A lot of it was spoiled, so it don't account for it. When they show it to you, you're only seeing the stuff that you wasted, stuff that you messed up. So that was a huge learning experience for me, because knowing that when they give those profit and loss statements to the investors, this is what it looks like. When you get it, this is why it looks this way, and it's to try to motivate you to make things better. And that's something I learned early on. Profit and loss statements can make or break your business. So how you label stuff, how
Mm.
stuff is worded, is very important.
Did you always want to be an entrepreneur, or did it came about in the process in terms of how you laid it out?
It's been on my spirit for a long time. God, I remember my first business was a
Yes.
clothing store, right? By being in retail, those clothes, I was buying clothes that were on sale, that were returned, uh, buying bulk quantities from different vendors that I came in contact with, that I formed partnership with, and opened up a clothing store and called it BT Bargains. I'll never
Mm.
forget that, in a small building in a rural town that
Mhm.
probably shouldn't have done. I should have took my own advice and not opened up in a small place like that. And ultimately, it failed. But it was a learning experience. I had all of this inventory that
Right.
I purchased. But one thing in business is that when you're buying stuff, you have to buy for your customers. You can't just buy because something's cheap.
Right.
If I buy five large tops, but my customers are extra large or 3X, then I just got five shirts that's sitting there. I can't sell them. So it's just that's where the due
Mm.
diligence come in, the research comes in about what you need to try to make your business work. And I learned that a very, very, very expensive lesson at that time, and I never forget it.
What's next for Mule Work?
God, our main goal right now is expanding and growing. I thought about bringing on different partners, which is going to be something that's going to be on the innovative side. That's why we call it a business group. We deal with people that do marketing.
Mhm.
We deal with people that do business loans. We deal with people that offer different business services than what we do. But if we can make everything up under one roof, and then make it worth the other person's while. I'm not going to take uh, a percentage of what you're doing. Just be a part of the group and offer to my customers, because my customers
Right.
ultimately are going to still come back to me for different things. If you do business credit
Right.
repair, that's what you do. But I can still offer to my
Mhm.
customers as a service. But ultimately for us is forming more partnerships, getting business sponsorship to take our business to the next level. Because we've been teetering on mediocrity for a long time, and that's what we're trying to get away from. We want to be that ultimate go to agency for small business owners.
I love the idea of the cooperative. I mean, you're calling it the group, but being able to work with other people who have a different expertise and expanding the portfolio, but also expanding the opportunity for businesses to collaborate. Like being the example of what you are teaching and sharing with your clients. That's a great idea. Well, I would love to have you back, as I mentioned, for us to really do a deep dive into the taxes, particularly after you've had a chance to review this new bill. That has been an ongoing issue for some of our listeners, but even when I talk to consultants in general, the tax challenge is, and I know several business owners too who are struggling with managing their taxes, feeling like they're paying too much, maybe not understanding how to take advantage of certain laws. But I would love for you to come back and talk to us about those things. Also, please let us know how our listeners can get in touch with you and follow you.
Great. You can call me at 866-617-2034. Again, that's 866-617-2034. My address, you can contact me directly at Bobby.Goodman, Goodman, at MuleWork, one word, MuleWork.biz. That is the MuleWork site. Also have the tax site. It's called the Tax Viking. That is www.thetaxviking.com.
Well, thank you, Bobby. Thanks for providing all of this insight. Congratulations on all the work that you do. And like I said, I look forward to having you back.
Hey, I got the print off right here. I'm going to start reading it as soon as I get off the phone. So Thank you very much for having us.
Very good.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening. We'll be back again next week with another great guest. Take care.
The Business First podcast is hosted and produced by Sonia Alleyne. Executive producer Ken Johnson. Find the Business First podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Odyssey, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, TuneIn, or wherever you get your podcast. On social media on IG at business_first_podcast. Follow the Mean Old Line Media Podcast Network on IG at Mean Old Line Media. Get the Mean Old Line Media app in the App Store or Google Play. The Business First podcast is a Mean Old Line Media production.